discover the incredible moment she saved her sister then met her life-changing billionaire boss. The clinic buzzed with the usual hum of activity, medical charts rustling, phones ringing, and nurses' shoes squeaking on the polished linoleum floors. Jess stood at the front desk, her heart racing. She just got a call from her younger sister, Lily. "Jess. I can't breathe." Those frantic words echoed in her mind like a siren. Without a second thought, she dashed out of the building, determination fueling her steps. Her heart thudded in her chest, and fear gripped her tight. As she burst through the door of their small apartment, Jess found Lily collapsed on the floor, gasping for air. The sight shattered her into a million pieces. Panic clawed at her throat, but she steadied herself. "Breathe, Lil. I'm right here." With quick thinking, she grabbed the inhaler from the shelf, rushing to her sister. She held it to Lily's mouth, guiding her breaths. "You got this, just breathe in, okay?" The tension in the room dissipated slowly as Lily finally inhaled deeply, relief washing over Jess like a warm tide. But this moment would change everything. Little did she know, their lives were about to intertwine with someone far beyond their humble lives, a dashing billionaire named Ethan. He was in town to launch a charitable initiative, but he wasn't prepared for the small community's hardships, nor for the fierce heart of the nurse who had just saved a life. "Are you okay?" Ethan's voice surprised Jess as he stepped into the room, concern etched across his handsome face. "You were incredible." Her cheeks flushed, but all she could think about was Lily. Days turned into weeks, and as Jess continued to juggle her 2 jobs and care for Lily, a friendship blossomed with Ethan. He often visited the clinic, drawn to Jess' selfless determination. She tried to keep her feelings in check. After all, he was a billionaire entrepreneur, and she was just a small-town nurse. But every shared moment ignited something inside her, a flicker of hope, for herself and for Lily. But trouble was brewing on the horizon. One evening, Jess learned of Ethan's company's plans to build a new facility in town, which meant potential layoffs of local workers, siphoning the lifeblood of her community. Conflicted, she confronted him with trembling hands and tears brimming in her eyes. "You can't do this. You don't understand the impact on our lives." "What are you talking about?" Ethan asked, bewildered. The energy in the room shifted. A misunderstanding revealed a betrayal that left Jess reeling. She felt the crushing weight of her family's future hang by a thread. With everything they had fought for in jeopardy, Jess found herself at a crossroads. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. In that moment of vulnerability, Jess realized this wasn't just about her and Ethan, it was about fighting for a community she loved. The chasm that separated their worlds loomed larger than ever, but her fierce love for Lily was a fire that wouldn't dim. Could she balance familial loyalty with her own heart's desires? As she stood there, watching Ethan's expression shift from confusion to understanding, the stakes raised higher than ever. The next choice would define not just their lives, but perhaps the very fabric of their small town. Would Jess take the leap, or would she continue to bear the burdens alone? Jess stood frozen, her heart still racing as she processed the weight of Ethan's confused gaze. The furious beat of her heart matched the tension that coiled around them like a thick fog. His handsome face, usually so warm and inviting, was now painted with uncertainty, and the closeness that had been building between them felt stretched to its breaking point. "You have to see it from our perspective," Jess said, her voice wavering but her resolve firm. "This isn't just a business deal. It's our lives, our neighbors, this community." The words tumbled out almost desperately, as if she could siphon away the big city dreams he might have held and replace them with the realities of life in their tight-knit town. Ethan took a step back, rubbing the back of his neck. I didn't realize his voice lost its confident lilt, revealing a vulnerability Jess had never witnessed before. I thought we could bring in jobs, uplift the area. By tearing it apart? Jess couldn't contain her frustration. You might believe that, but it's not the truth for us. Layoffs mean families on the brink, struggling to stay afloat. Each word felt like a dagger, meant to draw him into her world. He looked down, his brows knitted together as if her words were weaving a spell around him, forcing him to see more than numbers on a balance sheet. Jess felt a flicker of hope. Maybe he could be that change she desperately craved. Let me come with you to those meetings," she blurted out, surprising herself. "I can explain the impact. Share the real stories." He lifted his gaze, a dawning realization reflected in his eyes. "You want to help? You do that for me? It's not just about you, Ethan. It's about all of us," she snapped. But beneath the anger lay a swell of fear. What if he rejected her offer? What if this was the end of their fragile connection? Ethan nodded, processing the implications. "Okay, let us meet with the board and I'll get you in." But he hesitated, searching her face. "I want you to promise me one thing. No matter what, we stay honest with each other." Jess found herself agreeing, though uncertainty rumbled beneath the surface. How could honesty conquer the wealth of interests? After all, she had seen their community's spirit dwindle in the face of corporate plans before. Now, with that fragile promise hanging in the air, Jess felt a shift. A blending of their worlds was a possibility, and with it came new stakes. She looked into Ethan's eyes, where the confusion had given way to purpose. Suddenly, the line dividing their lives didn't seem so daunting. As they prepared to embark on this tenuous yet hopeful mission together, Jess felt adrenaline coursing through her. Could they forge a path forward that protected her community while also giving Ethan a chance to define a new legacy? The question rolled around in her mind: could love find a way through this storm? Later that night, as she tucked Lily in and kissed her forehead, Jess felt a mix of excitement and anxiety swell in her chest. Her sister had always been her priority, but now Ethan loomed just as large in her heart. She hoped this new direction would protect their small world. But just as she closed the door to Lily's room, her phone buzzed with a message from Ethan, a single line that sent a chill through her. "Can we talk? I found something that changes everything." Her pulse quickened. What could he possibly mean? As the night closed in, Jess felt the weight of the unknown pressing against her. Would this revelation threaten everything she had fought for, or could it rally their hopes in a new direction? In that moment of silence, she understood one vital truth: her life was about to be rocked again, and this time, she had to be ready for whatever lay ahead. Jess's heart raced as she stared at her phone. Ethan's message was like lightning in a storm. What could change everything? The questions churned in her mind, each one darker than the last. She couldn't shake the fear that this could turn into another hurdle, one more obstacle in the path she was trying to forge for herself and Lily. She paced her small living room, the walls adorned with Lily's crayon drawings, bright splashes of color against a backdrop of uncertainty. When she made the promise to Ethan, she had imagined a cohesive mission rooted in shared values. But now, with Ethan's words hanging heavily in the air, she felt a tightening knot of dread. What if he found something that jeopardized their community even more? What if he decided that profit outweighed the people? The thought made her stomach churn. She picked up her phone and typed back, "What do you mean?" Minutes felt like hours as she waited for his reply. Finally, Ethan responded, "Can we meet at the coffee shop tomorrow? I'd rather talk in person." Her mind raced through every scenario. Could he be about to share new plans that might wipe their hopes away? Or, perhaps he learned something allowing them to negotiate from a stronger position. She took a deep breath, trying to calm the whirlpool of emotions. "Okay. I'll be there," she typed, before she set the phone down. Sleep eluded her that night, and when dawn broke, she felt like a shadow of the vibrant person she used to be. Jess brewed a pot of coffee, trying to steady her nerves. The aroma filled the kitchen, a comforting reminder of normalcy amidst the uncertainty. Lily came down, her hair tousled, eyes bright. "Mama. Can we go to the park today?" The innocence in her sister's voice tugged at Jess's heart. It was hard to remember what life felt like without the worrisome weight of looming change. "Let us see how things go, okay?" Lily gave her a confused look but nodded, not pressing further. As Jess drove to the coffee shop, anxiety bubbled up again. The familiar streets blurred past her, each house, each tree, everything she loved felt at stake. She arrived and parked, scanning the cafe's patio. Ethan was already seated, his phone in hand, a furrow of concentration on his brow. "Hey," Jess said, sliding into the chair opposite him. Ethan looked up, and for a moment, his expression resembled the man she had first met, calm and confident. But that poise shattered as soon as he leaned in closer. "Jess, we have to talk about the investor." "I didn't want to bring this up until we had a plan, but investor?" Jess interrupted, her pulse quickening. "What are you talking about?" Ethan took a deep breath, visibly gathering his thoughts. "There's someone involved who has different ideas for the project. Ideas that could really hurt our community if we're not careful." A chill washed over Jess as she processed the implications behind his words. This was exactly what she feared. "What do you mean different ideas? Is it worse than you thought?" He nodded slowly, and his expression turned grave. "I've seen documents that suggest cutting corners, hiring outside contractors, even threatening the local businesses destroying our town for profit," Jess breathed. "Yes," Ethan said. "We don't have much time. We need to act now to get ahead of this." Her mind raced. They were standing on the precipice. Could this be the pivotal moment where they unite to save everything they cared for? She looked into Ethan's eyes, hope mingling with determination. A resolute need arose within her. "Then let us do it. Let us protect our community together." But as she spoke, a new dread rose within her. What if the warmth blooming inside her heart was misplaced? Caught in the whirlwind of decisions ahead, she sensed the weight of everything resting in their hands. As she prepared herself for the battle ahead, a thought flickered at the back of her mind: would this moment define their futures together, or would it pull them apart forever? Ethan shifted in his seat, the urgency in his eyes intensifying. "Jess, we can draw up a plan, gather the community. But we have to be strategic. If we don't act quickly, we might lose everything." Jess's heart ached with uncertainty. What about the others? How do we rally them when their lives are all tangled up in the current situation? No one wants to think it could worsen. "Exactly. That's where we come in," Ethan replied, his voice steady. "We can hold an emergency meeting tonight. Get everyone on board, raise awareness about what's coming. If they see there's something at stake, they'll join us." She hesitated, the weight of responsibility settling squarely on her shoulders. What if they don't believe us? What if they think we're overreacting? Ethan leaned closer, his gaze fierce. "We share the documents I found. We show them the reality of what could happen. People deserve to know." In that moment, Jess felt something flicker inside her, a mix of hope and fear. Could they really be the catalyst for change in their community? She met his gaze and nodded. "All right. Let us do it." As they began discussing strategies, Jess couldn't ignore the tightening knot of worry growing in her chest. If this went south, she knew the fallout could echo through their lives for years. But she also felt something unexpected rising, a type of strength she hadn't acknowledged in herself before. Later that evening, the little community center buzzed with chatter as people filed in. Jess set the documents on a table, her hands trembling slightly. She caught a glimpse of Lily's cheerful face peeking through the crowd, and for just a moment, everything felt right. Then, the room fell quiet as she and Ethan stepped forward. Jess cleared her throat, her nerves tight, but she forced herself to speak. "Thank you all for coming tonight. We need to discuss something crucial about our project and the future of our community. An investor who doesn't have our best interests at heart." The murmurs in the room shifted from skepticism to concern. Jess shared what they had learned, her voice steadying as she spoke more passionately. She could hear the gasps, see the worried expressions. "People are counting on us to protect this area. If we don't act fast, we'll regret it for years to come." As she spoke, she noticed a flicker of agreement among the crowd. The momentum built, voices chimed in with ideas and strategies. Hope surged within her. Together, they might just have the power to reshape their future. But then, a haunting question surfaced in her mind: was their unity strong enough to fight back against the looming threat? As the energy in the room swelled, Ethan shot Jess a quick look, his expression a mix of admiration and worry. She felt a rush of warmth, but it was quickly overshadowed by the darker thoughts swirling, a fear that, with every rallying moment, they were only masking deeper divides. At the end of the meeting, as the final suggestions were proposed, Jess felt the weight of expectations land heavily on them. She stepped outside, breathing in the cool night air, but a chill crept into her bones. "Did we do enough?" she whispered to herself, doubt nibbling at her resolve. Ethan joined her, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "It's a start, but we need to gather our allies. It'll take time, and the stakes are high." Just as they turned back to enter, Jess spotted a sleek black car pulling up in the distance, the headlights cutting through the darkness. A figure stepped out, and a chill of recognition surged through her. Her heart dropped as she whispered, "Ethan, do you see that?" He squinted, his brows furrowing. "Who is it?" The figure strolled toward them, confidence radiating with every step. Jess felt a bolt of electricity shoot through her. What if this was the key to everything they feared? But then again, what if this person wasn't there to help? As the figure approached, Jess held her breath, realizing their battle might be about to get more complicated than ever. The figure drew closer, the moonlight illuminating a familiar, yet unsettling face. Jess's pulse quickened. It was Grant, the former project developer their community had trusted not too long ago. He had left town under suspicious circumstances, and now he was back. "Jess, Ethan," he greeted smoothly, a sly smile creeping across his face. "I see you're leading the charge tonight." Ethan stood rigid beside her, tension radiating off him. "What do you want, Grant?" "Oh, just came to see how my favorite little community is holding up," he replied, his tone dripping with insincerity. "I mean, I can't help but notice some rather interesting discussions taking place." Jess felt a wave of nausea. Did he know about their plans? Each word he said felt like a careful calculation, a maneuver to keep her and Ethan on edge. "We don't need your help," she responded, trying to sound more confident than she felt. Grant chuckled lightly, folding his arms. "You say that now, but what if I told you I might have information that could change everything? Or maybe even save your project?" Ethan stepped closer to Jess, his voice low and cautious. "What kind of game are you playing, Grant? We aren't interested in your half-truths." Jess's internal conflict twisted and churned. She wanted to dismiss him outright, but a small part of her was intrigued. "And what exactly do you have to offer?" she asked, trying to mask her hesitance with skepticism. Grant leaned in, his voice dropping to a whisper, "Let's just say, I've made some connections. The investor you're so worried about? I might know how to leverage them for your benefit." "This isn't a negotiation," Ethan snapped, his impatience boiling beneath the surface. "I'm just an observer," Grant replied, raising his hands in mock surrender. "But you know as well as I do that in this game, having the right allies can turn the tide. You'd be wise to consider all options." Jess's heart pounded as she glanced at Ethan, who wore a stormy expression. "We don't trust you," Ethan said firmly. "And you have a history of undermining this community. Why would we believe you now?" "Because sometimes, need calls for collaboration even from the unlikeliest sources," Grant replied, tapping his temple knowingly. "Besides, your fight will be tough without the right strategy. You don't want to be blindsided, do you?" Jess felt torn. The gravity of their situation was only becoming clearer. They had already spoken so passionately about unity tonight, and now the very idea of bringing someone like Grant into the fold felt like sacrilege. On the other hand, the information he hinted at could be exactly what they needed. Ethan shook his head, a muscle tightening in his jaw. "We'll do this on our own." As they started to move away, Grant called out, "I'll be around. Think on it, Jess." Jess turned back one last time and found him watching her, an unsettling glint in his eyes. For a fleeting moment, doubt crept into her thoughts. Did their resolve truly hold against the layers of manipulation and betrayal? Once they were back inside, the warm chatter of familiar faces filled the space, but Jess felt distant. She grabbed Ethan's arm, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if he's right? What if we need help from unexpected places?" Ethan's expression softened for a moment, his concern evident. "We can't forget what he did to us. We can't be so naive." Yet, the way Grant had spoken felt like a riddle entwined with the truth. Jess swallowed hard, knowing this was just the beginning of the storm brewing around them. She couldn't shake the feeling that the winds were changing. The question lingered in the air, weighing heavily on her mind. What if the worst wasn't he the investor, but the choice they were yet to face? Determined, she looked at Ethan. "We keep our friends close, but how do we keep enemies like Grant from tearing us apart?" Her heartbeat quickened as the resolve to protect their community grew fiercer. They had to figure it out soon. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the clock was ticking. As the crowd buzzed with hope inside the community center, Jess wondered if they could truly stand against the tides of betrayal about to crash upon them. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for the battles ahead. What would it take to uncover all the secrets hidden in plain sight? Jess's thoughts spiraled as she crossed the threshold back into the community center. The atmosphere was lively, filled with laughter and chatter, as friends caught up and plans solidified. Despite the warmth of familiarity, a chill ran down her spine. Grant's words echoed in her mind, too smooth, too purposeful. Ethan's grip on her arm tightened. "Let us find a way to push through this. We need to rally everyone around a plan that keeps Grant out." "Right," Jess replied, forcing a smile for the faces around them. "We'll stick together, that's our strength." But inside, uncertainty churned. Could they really withstand whatever storm Grant had set in motion? She caught snippets of conversations around her. People were excited about potential developments, new ideas for the community garden, plans for holiday fairs, discussions on resources. Every word hung in the air like a fragile thread binding their hopes together. Jess tried to focus on these, pushing aside the weight that had settled in her chest. Ethan pulled her to the side, his voice urgent. "We can't ignore this, Jess. If Grant has inside information, we need to figure out a way to get ahead of him. Or we could just play it straight," she countered, frustration creeping in. "If we contact the investor directly, perhaps we can reassure them without Grant's meddling." He paused, looking out over the crowd, his expression conflicted. "But what if Grant has already placed doubts in their minds? We have to be strategic." She watched as people gathered around the makeshift podium at the center of the room. The founder of the community project, an elderly woman named Ruth, was about to speak. Jess respected Ruth, known for her unwavering belief in community and genuine care for its members. Taking a deep breath, Jess reminded herself that this woman had dealt with challenges before, leading them through thick and thin. Their community was filled with heart, and that alone made it worth fighting for. As Ruth began to speak, Jess's heart warmed. "We've faced many trials," the old woman declared, her voice strong and steady. Each one has made us stronger, brought us closer. We must choose unity over fear. Let us find out the truth together. Thunderous applause erupted, and Jess felt the resolve deepen in her chest. Maybe they didn't need to worry about Grant's influence. Maybe their shared determination could shine through the clouds of uncertainty. But there was still a weight pressing down on her. What was Grant's game? And how far would he go to manipulate them? After Ruth's speech, Jess stepped into the hustle of the crowd, her mind racing. She spotted her neighbor, Millie, a sharp-eyed woman who had a talent for digging up information. "Millie, can we talk?" "Sure, honey," Millie said, her voice softening. "We need to know what's really going on with Grant. Any ideas?" Millie glanced around, clearly choosing her words carefully. "Let us meet after hours tomorrow. I have something I want to check into." "Thanks." Jess felt a surge of gratitude. She needed allies, connections, just like Grant suggested, but not in the same way. They would fight back, fiercely, together as a community. As the evening wore on and goodbyes were exchanged, Ethan leaned in, watching her closely. "You seem more determined. What if we took a different route?" Jess said, her eyes lighting up with possibility. "What if we could turn Grant's connections against him? Use his own tricks to spin this in our favor?" Ethan raised an eyebrow, impressed but cautious. "That's a dangerous game you're considering." "I know," she admitted, "but maybe it's time to think like him to outsmart him." "Okay," he said slowly, "but we need to tread carefully. Clearly, we're dealing with a snake." They stepped outside, and the cool night air wrapped around them, offering a fresh perspective. Jess looked up, the stars twinkling above a vast space full of potential. "If we play our cards right, we might just find a way to expose his lies, and leave him with nowhere to go." Ethan nodded, a new fire lighting his eyes. "Let us do it. Together." Just then, Jess noticed a figure lingering by the trees at the edge of their community. There stood Grant, watching. A flicker of recognition sparked a chilling fear in her gut. What was he planning now? As uncertainty knotted in her stomach, Jess realized this battle had only just begun. The stakes grew higher, and the shadows closer. What if they couldn't tackle this without becoming entangled in the very traps they sought to dismantle? Tomorrow, they'd figure it out. But for tonight, Jess couldn't shake the looming presence of Grant and what he still might do. Was this the path they'd set upon, or just the calm before an even bigger storm? The next day dawned with a chill in the air, an echo of Jess's unsettled thoughts. She woke early, the sunlight attempting to break through the clouds, but it felt as if shadows lingered on her heart. What would Grant do next? The questions churned like storm clouds overhead. She dressed quickly, her mind racing with plans. They needed to be smart. Meet Millie, gather information, and plot their next move. Jess grabbed her jacket, the fabric rough against her fingertips, as if reminding her of the struggles ahead. As she walked to the community center, she spotted familiar faces. Friendly smiles should have eased her tension, but every interaction felt overshadowed by paranoia. "Good morning, Jess." Someone called, but she could barely respond. Time was slipping away. Arriving at the center, it was busier than the night before. The smell of coffee blended with the chatter of excited voices. Jess spotted Millie at a table in the corner, her expression serious instead of the usual warmth. As Jess approached, the weight on her chest grew heavier. "Thanks for meeting me," Jess said, sliding into a seat opposite Millie. "Listen, I did some digging," Millie started, looking around before leaning in closer. "Grant is connected to some shady folks in the area. These investors he's been courting, they're not just business people. There's more to them." "What do you mean?" Jess felt her pulse quicken. Millie pulled out a small notebook. "I've heard whispers. Rumors that they might not have our community's best interest at heart. They could turn against us if Grant promises them something better, like land, resources. Great. So he's not just playing a game, he might be ready to sell us out. Exactly. We have to show them that we're worth investing in. We need to show our strength and unity. Jess nodded, adrenaline surging through her. We need to rally everyone. You have contacts in the community, right? Talk to them. Get them ready for a meeting. Millie's eyes sparkled with determination. I can do that. But we also need something concrete against Grant. If we can expose him, then maybe, just maybe, we can pull the rug out from under him. A deep breath. What do you think? Should we investigate his dealings? I think it's risky. But what if we find something? Something to use as leverage? Millie's voice trembled slightly, but her spirit was fierce. If we're going to take this fight to him, we need to be too big to ignore. We'll have to work as a community, show them we're more than a simple project with good intentions. As they planned, a sense of urgency began to take over, fueling their determination. Jess felt a fire ignite within her, one they both shared. For the first time in a while, the uncertainty didn't feel insurmountable. Later, as she walked through the nearby park, the sun finally broke through, bathing the world in warmth. But her thoughts flickered back to Grant. Would he retaliate? How far would he go? Suddenly, an idea struck her. They could sabotage Grant's influence by showcasing their strength. If they organized a community event, one that highlighted their unity and purpose, maybe they could impress the investors and expose Grant's ulterior motives. Pumping with inspiration, she rushed to her phone and texted Ethan, "We need to plan a community gathering. Showcase our strengths. Show the investors who we really are." Minutes later, her phone buzzed back, "I'm in. Let us gather the troops." As Jess returned to the community center, a sense of hope washed over her. They could do this together. But as she stepped inside, a chill came over her again. Grant was there, his face impassive, eyes scanning the room. He looked like a wolf among sheep. Is it possible that he knows what they are planning? The time for action was closer than ever, but danger lurked in every corner. Jess's heart raced. Would they be ready for whatever he had in store? Tomorrow could change everything. Would they manage to unmask Grant before time ran out? Jess's heart pounded as she locked eyes with Grant. The air was thick with tension, and every instinct screamed for her to turn and leave. But she reminded herself that fear wouldn't win this fight. They had a plan, and they needed to stick to it. "Hey, you okay?" Millie's voice pulled Jess from her thoughts. She hadn't realized she'd been standing frozen at the entrance. "Yeah, just a lot on my mind," Jess replied, forcing a smile. She glanced back at Grant, who was now deep in conversation with a couple of investors. There was an air of casual authority about him, the way he waved his hands, convincing and persuasive. It made her stomach churn. "Let us go," Millie said, as if reading her thoughts. They made their way deeper into the center, weaving through small groups of people bustling about, preparing for their upcoming gathering. "I think we should set the date for the event soon," Millie suggested, pencil colliding with her notepad as she jotted down notes. "Maybe next weekend? We'll need some time for people to rally and spread the word." "Next weekend sounds good. We can set up some activities too, maybe a potluck?" "Let everyone bring their favorite dish," Jess proposed, excitement bubbling within her. With every moment spent planning, a sense of clarity began to emerge. She could practically see the community coming together, each person contributing their uniqueness, a quilt made from vibrant patches of experiences and dreams. "Let us make sure we get Ethan involved too," Jess urged. "His connections will help us gather the right crowd and make the event appealing to the investors." "Good call," Millie nodded, her eyes lighting up. Just then, the chatter around them shifted, and Jess turned sharply. Grant had moved to the front of the room. The casual tone he held moments ago faded. All eyes were on him as he addressed the crowd, an effortless charisma in his voice. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, the confidence in his tone sending a ripple of curiosity through the crowd. "I've been discussing exciting plans for our community that promise upward mobility. But let us be honest, there are sacrifices to be made to make progress." Unease hung in the air as whispers filled the room. Was he trying to undermine their unity? Jess leaned closer to Millie, her heart racing. "This is it," Jess said quietly, realization dawning. "He's going to try to turn them against us before we can even organize. Then we need to act faster than he can counter us," Millie replied, her voice steady. With urgency driving her, Jess started moving through the crowd, gathering people. "We need to counter him. If we can get our event planned, we can show them who really drives this community." Eager nods came from those she spoke to, and a small crowd began to form around Millie and Jess, ignited by her enthusiasm. As if on cue, Ethan arrived, his presence a much-needed anchor. "What's the plan?" he asked, eyes scanning the group. "We're organizing a gathering to show the community's strength," Jess explained, adrenaline surging. "We need everyone on board, fast." Just as they began mapping out specifics, a voice cut through their enthusiasm. "And what makes you think anyone will care?" Grant stood there, his gaze sharp and predatory, a half-smile curling his lips. The crowd hushed, all energy instantly sucked out. Jess felt her confidence falter but fought against it. "We care," Jess shot back, adrenaline rising again. "This community is worth standing up for, and we will not back down." Her voice rang with the conviction she felt, and the room answered, murmurs of agreement rising like a tide. But Jess's heart still thundered. She couldn't shake the gnawing sense that Grant would not let this go easily. As tensions rose, Jess sensed the stakes were more significant than she understood. A confrontation was looming, and it was clear this battle was about to reach a new level. She had to find a way to keep their momentum. But with Grant hovering like a vulture on the sidelines, would they have time to pull it all off? Tomorrow would be crucial, but would Jess and her team be prepared for what was coming? The next morning brought a sharp chill to the air, a stark contrast to the warmth of hopeful plans swirling from the night before. Jess woke up, tension thrumming beneath her skin. She pulled on her favorite sweater, the one that felt like a comforting hug, then turned on the coffee maker. With the aroma filling the small kitchen, she glanced around her apartment, cluttered with sketches and notes from their brainstorm. It was a mess, yes. But it was also filled with energy, the kind of brightness that came from dreaming together, of a community uniting. As she moved through her morning routine, her mind raced back to the meeting with Grant. She could almost feel his predatory gaze on her, as if he could smell her fear. Jess shook the thought away and focused on the day ahead. They were going to make this event happen, no matter what. Millie arrived promptly, her own eyes gleaming with excitement. "Jess, I've been thinking about the event's theme. What if we call it United We Stand? It's bold and fitting." Jess felt a flicker of reassurance. "Absolutely. It captures everything we want to express. But we need to ensure everyone understands that unity is the strength here." They spent the next few hours making calls and sending messages, rallying volunteers and gathering ideas. With each response they got, hope swelled like a balloon ready to burst with light. Ethan arrived halfway through, his lively energy infectious. "Status report?" he asked, settling in with his laptop on the coffee table. "We have music lined up and food ideas brewing," Millie said, jotting down notes. "And I'm talking to Sarah about sharing her photography." Jess added, "We need to focus on what makes us unique while countering Grant's narrative. More personal stories, less corporate drivel." As they brainstormed, laughter wove through their discussions, lightening the tension. Each plan made Jess feel more connected, more prepared to challenge whatever Grant had up his sleeve. This was about family, neighbors, and that undeniable spirit when someone stood side by side for a common goal. That afternoon, while taking a breath on the balcony, Jess felt her phone buzz a message from Sarah. "Can we meet? I have something important to share." Jess's stomach twisted slightly, a hint of worry bubbling up. "Everything okay?" Millie asked as Jess slipped back inside. "Sarah needs to talk," Jess replied, glancing down at her phone again. "Want to come with me?" "Of course. Let us find out what she has to say." They made their way to the local coffee shop, the scent of fresh brews welcoming as soon as they entered. Sarah was already sitting at a corner table, her expression serious. "Hey. Thanks for coming," she said, a tremor in her voice. "I've been hearing rumors, and I think Grant is planning something against us. I was approached by one of the investors close to Jess felt her heart drop. What do you mean? He's trying to undermine your event before it even begins, Jess. He's spreading doubts about our strength as a community. We have to come up with a response, fast." As panic surged, Jess glanced at Millie, who sat quietly, eyes wide. The room seemed to close in on them. Jess took a deep breath, grounding herself. They had to fight back, to use what they had, their unity. "What do we do?" Millie asked softly. Jess's mind raced with thoughts, ideas forming into a plan. "We need to counteract his narrative with power. A strong public statement, showing our resolve, will set the tone. We can't let him intimidate us. We're going to take back the narrative." But just then, a new message pinged in Jess's mind. She remembered Ethan's connections. Could he help? Her heart raced with determination. "I have an idea about a rally, a powerful statement that will grab people's attention." As hope sparkled in her chest, she looked at Sarah and Millie, who shared her resolve. But somewhere in the back of her mind, a question loomed: could they really withstand Grant's underhanded tactics? The moment felt electric, the weight of their decision settling like a storm cloud on the horizon. And Jess couldn't help but wonder if they had already awakened a battle far more significant than she anticipated. Tomorrow, they would map out their next move, but would it be enough to stop Grant before he struck again? The day of the gathering dawned bright and clear, an unexpected gift after the tumultuous week Jess had endured. She rose early, her heart pounding with anticipation. "Today's the day," she whispered to herself as she pulled on her favorite boots and set about making breakfast for herself and Lily. The smell of pancakes filled the apartment, a warm comfort that reminded her of mornings spent laughing with her sister. As Jess flipped the first pancake, her thoughts drifted back to the plans they had laid out, the way they had rallied their community to stand together against the threat of Grant and his shady investors. Lily's laughter broke through her reverie as she bounded into the kitchen, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Are we really having the big gathering today, Jess?" Jess beamed, her heart swelling with pride. "Yes. And it's going to be amazing, just you wait and see." She ruffled Lily's hair, grateful for the little moments of joy amidst the chaos. As they drove together towards the community center, Jess felt a mixture of nerves and determination fuel her. The event was everything she and her friends had been fighting for, to showcase their strength and resilience, to let everyone know that their little town mattered. Arriving at the center, she could see the preparations in full swing. Colorful banners adorned the space, proudly declaring "United We Stand." Volunteers hustled here and there, laughter and chatter mingling in the air. Jess felt her heart leap at the sight of it. This was hope. This was unity. Ethan was already there, chatting with Millie and other community members, energy radiating from his confident demeanor. He caught Jess's eye and flashed a smile, an instant comfort amidst the bustling crowd. She joined them, her pulse quickening at the sight of the people who had come to show their support. "Look at this. It's incredible," Ethan said, his admiration evident as he motioned to the busy volunteers. "You really brought everyone together." "We all did this together," Jess replied, a warm glow warming her cheeks. But now we need to make sure that Grant doesn't pull a fast one before we get started." Just then, Sarah appeared beside them, her face flushed with anxiety. "Jess, we need to talk. I overheard Grant speaking to some of the investors. He's trying to spin a story that portrays us as inept." Jess's heart sank, but determination surged. "Then we fight back. We have to make our voices heard today no matter what." The gathering began, and the room filled with townspeople. Jess took a deep breath, stepping up to the mic with Ethan and Millie by her side. The room quieted, anticipation hanging in the air. "Thank you all for coming today," Jess started, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions crashing within her. "Today isn't just about a project, it's about us, our community, our home." As she spoke, she saw nodding heads, felt the energy shift, and the warmth spreading like wildfire through the crowd. She shared stories, tales of neighbors helping neighbors, highlighting the beating heart of their small town. Hope fluttered in her chest and drowned out the noise of fear. Ethan stepped forward next, his conviction clear. "We are not just numbers on a balance sheet. We are a family, a community that supports one another. We stand together, and no amount of corporate tactics can undermine that spirit." Cheers erupted in response, a crescendo of voices affirming their unity and strength. Jess felt empowered. This was the moment they had all been waiting for. After Ethan, Millie spoke, passionately emphasizing the need for action, the importance of standing up against outside pressures, and the undeniable spirit of their town. Each speech built upon the last, and with each word, Jess's heart swelled. As the event progressed and stories were shared, Jess spotted Grant slipping into the back. His presence sent a shiver down her spine, but she pressed on, focusing on the hope surrounding her. Just as she started to feel the tide turning, Grant stepped up. The crowd turned silent, wary eyes on him. Jess's heart raced. This would be the true test. With his customary smoothness, Grant addressed the gathering. "I appreciate your passion, truly. But let us not forget that sometimes growth requires sacrifice. We all want progress, right?" A murmur rippled through the crowd, doubt creeping in like a shadow. Jess took a deep breath, gathering her courage as she stepped forward again. "And what kind of progress comes at the expense of our community? We won't allow you to tear apart the fabric that binds us." Power surged through her words, igniting the crowd once more. Cheers erupted, voices joining together in a chorus of defiance. Grant faltered, his confident facade cracking as he realized he was losing his grip. The tension felt electric as the crowd rallied together. Jess felt the solid foundation beneath her feet growing stronger. The people surrounding her were ready to fight for what mattered. In that moment, Jess knew this was more than just a gathering. It was a collective heartbeat, a fight for what they believed in, a promise to protect their town. They were united, standing strong against the storm, ready to face whatever lay ahead. As she soaked in the energy of the room, confidence blossoming within her, Jess looked out over the crowd, a radiant smile spreading across her face. "Let us show our investors what we fight for. Together. This is our home, and no one is going to take that away from us." The crowd erupted in applause, chants of "United we stand," filling the air like a heartbeat echoing through their community. They had taken back their power, and Jess felt the chains of doubt dissolve, replaced by the electric thrill of solidarity. And as she looked over at Ethan, their eyes locking in an unspoken agreement, Jess realized that today was not just a victory against Grant, it was about hope for the future, love for her sister, and the unwavering spirit of a community that refused to back down. Together, they had ignited a light that would shine brightly against any darkness. In this moment, she knew they could face anything, as long as they stood united. The journey ahead would be filled with challenges and possibilities, but for the first time, she was ready to embrace it all, pursuing a future where they'd all thrive together as one strong, unyielding community. Now, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. And don't forget to leave a like to feed the algorithm, it really makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support means everything.